Good morning, good noon, and a very good evening from Global Talk Show by Business Power Academy, Netherlands. And today we have an amazing guest from UK, and she is none other than a vivacious personality, a very humble person, and a very multi-talented and a multi-awarded person. And she is none other than Klara Goldy. Welcome, Klara, to our show today. It's an honor in hosting you today on my show, Global Talk Show.
Supriya, it's so lovely to meet you and talk to your audience, and hopefully we're going to inspire a few people today. I don't know how many are tuning in, but hello to your audience as well.
Well, Klara, you are an amazing person. And before I go to my journey, let me apprise of Klara. Well, she is a G100 Global Mission UK chair for the Wings of a Positive Masculinity, founder and CEO of The Soul Decorator, and she's also a great international speaker. And without taking any moment, let's start this show. And Klara, straight away, we all are so excited to know your incredible journey. Please.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm excited to share it and inspire others because, when we start out in life, and, we all know that when we come out of school or wherever we're coming out of, it can feel very daunting. So I really want to speak to the young people around the world when they look at all the stuff on the TV and the magazines and they think, oh my goodness, how am I going to get to where I need to go when there's all these incredible people? But let me tell you, audience, that it doesn't start out that way for everybody, unless you happen to be very lucky with mummy and daddy being super rich. But if you don't, then, there are signs of hope for everybody to get doing what they really love. And that's why I have a whole message around, managing your energy and high vibing your life. So what do you want to know, Supriya?
Well, Klara, this is really great. And I'm sure this short and crisp, but really meaningful and powerful, incredible journey of yours is really going to inspire people. And yes, I want to know one more thing. We talk about challenges and we talk about ups and downs in life. And I'm sure, Klara, the position on which today you are really a very strong position. And for this position, you have faced n number of challenges. So I would love to know what kind of those challenges were there in your life, and most important, how you have overcome those challenges.
Yeah. Right. So starting right back in the very beginning, and I think this is a flame or a thread right through my life. Never accept what other people tell you about their limitation of that, who they think you are, because we meet that time and time again through our school life, through our young adult life, even when we get into grown-ups. People always have an idea or a perception of who they think you are. And a lot of that comes from a fear, I guess. And if it's close relatives or family or friends, sometimes that's their fear of not wanting you to get hurt. But you know yourself from the inside out. And so our journey really is to establish from as early as you can your connection to your inner being, that inner light that guides you. And so often in this world, we're not taught about that connection to that part of ourselves. That's our driving force, it's our energy, it's who we are. And that flame needs to be fanned, and we need to find people around us that encourage us to be the best version of ourselves. And yes, you're right, Supriya, it's not always easy. Life throws challenges at us all the time. We take the current situation in the world. It's scary. It's a scary situation for a lot of people. But what I want to say is that we need to come and always be present with who we are. And I recently joined another podcast where we were talking about radical acceptance. And I want to share into that because one of the practices that I have held dear in my life was this place where I go to where whatever the outer world is looking like, it doesn't mean to say that's going to control the outcome for us. In other words, we must find that place within us when things get challenging. You can feel, I don't know, an emotion, name an emotion. It could be anger, it could be fear, it could be you feel like inertia is kicking in because you can't see the way forward. But I think the main thing is to really come into this inner space and drop into that place of peace and have acceptance for what the situation is. So if you think, oh my goodness, I'm leaving school, I want to get a job, everybody else looks like they're doing wonderful things, is not to attach to that thought, because immediately you kind of set up a suffering where you're comparing yourself to others. And you have got to know that everybody had to start their journey somewhere. Everybody had to have their experience about life from something. And so the biggest thing we can do is trust that if you have a driving feeling about, like I always knew from a young age, that our interior space affected our well-being. I saw it as a little girl. I noticed it around family. I noticed the environments they lived in, how it impacted them. And so I always had this feeling that I was going to, help people in some way. My big thing is I'm a person who loves to show up and be of service. It's my natural default system. And I've had to watch that at times because it can actually impact my own well-being. But the thing is not to attach to, how should we say, the suffering of a situation. So if a situation is occurring in your life that you feel you have no control over and it's impacting you and it's making you feel a certain way, then I think the thing is to detach yourself from judging yourself about where you should or shouldn't think you should or shouldn't be, if that makes sense to people. So in other words, yes, you might be feeling, I don't know, an emotion about something that's a negative emotion. That's okay. It's okay to have that emotion because that helps you move yourself out of that place. So I like to think about my emotions as my guidance system. So if I'm feeling an emotion, let's say, about something, I use that as a barometer. So those things I can't change externally, but what I can do is change my state or my way of being towards that thing. And that's one of the singularly most important things that's helped me throughout my life. And it didn't always start out that way, that I, now command amazing projects in my life with incredible clients. I get to build fabulous teams and create real beauty and energy in people's lives with the work I offer, including the soul work. But I hit a moment, you'd asked me about my life journey earlier. And, as a young person, you kind of go along and you follow your dream. And then suddenly one day I found myself in my 30s in a very uncompromising situation where I had two small sons and no home. I was about to have no home, no car, no nothing. And it was a whole, backstory to that, which I'm not going to share now, but it was a very difficult moment. But rather than moan and complain and think myself done, but hard done by, or any of those things, I got my energy, if you like. I managed my energy through that period. And I discovered that by having gratitude, a lot of gratitude, I even wrote about it. This is going back in my 30s. I wrote a book called The Gift of Grace and Gratitude. By tapping into my inner resources and by accepting my situation, I actually turned my situation completely around. And I'm very proud of that moment, actually, because it's difficult enough for people, not just women, but for people, let's say. And in that moment, I had so many realizations about how in my life as a child or as a young woman, the stereotypes for women in this particular instance, because I am one, was really stacked against women. But I never let that get the better of me, because I felt like, hang on a minute, if we're talking about God, source, energy, and we're talking about our unique spirit and our unique energy, then we have to know that something bigger and greater is possible, because why wouldn't it be? And I think when you change the questions and you change your attitude and you change everything is possible. Everything is possible between meeting another person. Everything is possible with showing up with your gifts. So I just really want to share that with your audience, because I know there are people out there feeling that the odds are stacked against them at the moment. But that's not the case. That's a belief that we think it is, because what the world is showing us and what is actually real. So that's what I kind of want to share around is the journey I made was from a really tricky place, but now I get to do the most amazing projects with my clients. And actually, as a result of working in a particular way, another, if you like, another journey unfolded for me, because as I use my business as a vehicle for my personal growth, I started to understand lots of things, which I've talked into a lot over the years and I've written about. So yeah, it's a little bit about my journey.
Wow. And here comes the strongest woman, that is Klara Goldy. And seriously, Klara, when you told me your journey, I was mesmerized. How come a sweet woman like Klara has gone so much of challenges in every step of her life, and how easily and the way you handle them in a very positive manner, that is really, really hats off to you. Trust, very, very, very great word which you use, and energy. I do reciprocate. I'm in sync with you, Klara. If we use the great healing energy in a positive direction, we can do miracles. And if we
Exactly.
can't, we are going to become our own foes, our own enemies. So awesome work which you are doing, Klara. I really, really appreciate. And my next question, I would directly jump. What is the soul decorator? We would love to know. Even my global audience would love to know what Klara doing, the soul decorator.
Okay, so along my journey, which I mentioned already, that around the age of 30 something, I ended up having to start all over again. And this time I had 2 children. And so in a way, I realized that although I was doing lovely and incredible things for clients, I went through a kind of a process, if you like, where I realized that, and I've written and talked about it with, I had a show about 10 years ago where I talked directly into this, and everything is energy. Literally everything is energy, and the energy moves according to, things are going to happen, but to me, they are going to happen, but it's how we do or don't attach ourselves to the outcome. So the first thing is I realized that my life starting over again was a reflection of how I thought about myself. So the process that happened on an inner level for me was kind of around recreating an environment that allowed me to not only thrive, but become the person that I always knew deep down I was meant to be, taking off all the judgments, all the ideas of what it is to be a woman, what it is to be a mother, all those stereotypes that get hung on our, on us. And I had to really strip a lot of that out and look at who I was and who my children are and how do I create the environment. So through that period, I was still doing my regular done for you interior design, which clients come to me and they want their homes done, and that's what they get. They get Klara Goldy, the interior designer. But this process that was occurring was really helping me understand something else at large, shall we say. Something, a higher power that, you know, isn't always visible. But I started to see that I was going on a very deep inner healing journey. And being from India, you will understand the spiritual journey probably even more than most, because it is a real journey. It is our soul journey. It is our connection to spirit and super source, you know, and it's not kind of like from a place of religion, because I'm a really joy loving human being. And I started to see that there was something going on. So anyhow, fast forward, I came to a place around 2008 where I'd worked really hard to build a really great business up. I had been doing a lot of deep esoteric shamanic work for a long time, actually. And then one day something kind of, well, not one day, it was a whole experience. There was all sorts of things happening in the world, the recessions, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And I suddenly had got to a place as a mom, and I must have been in my 40s by now, that I experienced what I call a major rebirth. And I also saw that although I'd created this incredible business, I'd done a couple of burnouts along the way, and I was pretty exhausted. And I decided to temporarily explore this part of myself, if you like, that it was almost like I had an elbow in my back from spirit, not letting me off the hook to unearth, you know, the whole energy experience. So I closed my business down, was already successful, but I thought, right, time for a sabbatical and time to explore what is this other aspect coming for me. And it really was around the energy work and incorporating it more into my work, into my life. And in actual fact, Saprea, it's the thing that really attracts my customers now to my work, where I wove these two elements in, our emotional, our spiritual, our physical, our mental attributes, into creating environments that help us thrive. So I have another kind of, if you like, mini business, which is the Soul Decorator, where I work with people on a very kind of one-to-one or sometimes groups, where we explore their inner world, and helping them really, if you like, find the switch to light up their world. Because at the moment in the world, we're seeing so many people with emotional, mental, whatever you want to call it, crisis, and experiencing really difficult moments. And I feel like the work that I have, which is of immense value to people, and then I discovered other things about myself, other gifts that aren't, say, the normal type of gifts, but nevertheless, they're the kind of gifts that help people unravel and have an unusual gift, shall we say, of being able to find the pain body within people and help them release that. So that work started to come in and around after 1997. So through that period, I was growing that part of my work, even though I was still doing my main interior design work. And it's the thing that people most love about the Soul Decorator. They come sometimes just to have that piece of the work without the interior design, interestingly. So that's all about your energy, understanding your energy, managing your energy. And really, when you tap into that aspect of yourself, it really allows you to live the life that you know deep down you were destined for, irrespective of what things look like on the outside. So that's the Soul Decorator, really.
Well, Klara, I was earlier thinking it's only about interior decoration. But when you said the word the Soul Decorator, Now I know the exact meaning where you use the healing energy, spiritual, and making the ambience positive. So that's the beauty of the soul decorator. And I will just tell my global audience, if you want to take, if you want to leverage the soul decorator, then you have to contact Klara, and she's going to give you the bestest positive ambience for your house, for your company, for your office, and you can make the best version of yourself and your career too. Well, Klara, this is really great, and people would love to contact you for their journey too. Well, moving to this beautiful global talk show from ordinary to extraordinary show with Klara, I would love to know what is Klara's beautiful message for the world today.
Yeah, I think for me, it's always come back to your heart, to your inner being, to listen. Most people get busy with life, and we all do it. But I think for me, it's really having loving acceptance at all times for yourself. And it becomes a practice. I've been practicing it for a very long time, actually since a little girl, and it was a habit that stayed, and it stood me in good stead. So that's really about stopping, listening, hearing your deepest needs and learning how to get those needs met. Because at the end of the day, we're all here in life to participate with one another, to meet one another, to make a better world, whatever that's in, whether that's your family life, your business life. But ultimately, we have to listen to our own needs and articulate clearly what it is we want. And if you're in a toxic situation, whether that's your business or what have you, and you've expressed your needs and you're not having them met, you have to withdraw from those situations if they're bringing your energy down. And you've hand on your heart, gone internally and found out where you need to change that state of being, that emotion. Where do I need to shift my, whether you want to call that perception about it? Your perception may not be right. You may need to shift it. But if you've honestly kept doing that and it's still not yielding you the next step for your path, then you sometimes have to look, where do I need to put myself to be the person I'm meant to be? And that's how the energy world kind of works. When you really come into center, you really connect with nature, because I haven't mentioned nature much, but nature is a massive part of everything I've always stood for. And I'm not talking about just ranting about nature where it's kind of, you know, we've got all this latest climate crisis going on. I'm actually talking about a practice that I started at a very young age. I mean, a really young age, where I connected in nature to a very deep state. And there's nothing like it. It's like we are part of it and it's part of us. And it really allows us to hear when we go into nature and we become still. You need to do it, because I'm telling you now, when you do it and you practice it and you really listen, there's a whole new kind of vibration, a kind of presence, stillness that allows you to really distill what's really important in our lives. So yeah.
Well, I think this is the beautiful message you have delivered today, Klara, and my global audience would love to follow the advices, the beautiful message which you had given just now, and they will make their journey super cool, super awesome. So thank you once again for coming to our show and spending a loveliest time with your positivity, energy, and spreading this energy globally. So thank you once again, Klara.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Namaste.
Namaste. And thank you so much, my global audience, for always loving us, inspiring us. So keep doing that. Till then, stay happy, hail and hearty. Bye-bye for now.
Bye. Thank you so much, Supriya. Thank you so much, audience.